Hi guys, welcome back to the last point we're making in chapter 12 with this last video. So there are 6 factors that contribute to income inequality. If you can work on these things, you're going to find yourself in a better shape than other people. Okay, innate abilities and attributes. This one is not something we have control over. This is the stuff that we inherit, right? How tall we are, how attractive we are, how good our memory is. Now, some of these things are trainable. Some of these things, certainly you can work out, you can eat better, you can mind all, your vitamin C and vitamin D and find that you have better skin than maybe the skin you could have been born with. You can also wreck what you have, right? Like, for instance, we know that somebody can inherit a tall gene, but experience malnutrition and actually not end up being tall eventually. So we can help it or hurt it, but if you're a basketball player and you have a certain height and you have certain muscular structure and you have certain speed and certain eye-hand coordination, and that you could be born with that. That is something where somebody else might love basketball but doesn't have a lot of those things, and now they have to only play video games of basketball. They can actually become part of the NBA. So there is a certain amount of this is what we are born with. And for instance, analytical ability, some people simply have more of it. Now, you hone in? Can you always you can. The brain has amazing plasticity. We never stop changing our brain. We never stop sharpening it, making it better, working on it. That's what meditation is for. That's what, doing, just solving puzzles and stuff like that is for. But there is a certain amount that just, if something comes easily to you, you probably have it from day one. And if something comes hard to you, you probably didn't have it, So those are things that are going to make a difference as far as income goes. Because some, for instance, concentration level, really, like some people just have much more of it. And if you're a surgeon, you really need to be zoom in and focus. If you're a pilot and you have all these 300 passengers in your hands and their lives and their safety, you really have to have a certain amount of focus. Can you sharpen your focus? Yes. But are some people simply naturally better at it than others? Yes. So those jobs pay well, but they need that. Work and leisure. Okay. Very simple. You want to play more, you work less, you make less income. Now, I'm not telling you to dedicate your life to work. Never, ever would I tell you that. I think you should take on the work that feeds your soul. So ask yourself, what kind of job can I do that makes me feel like there is meaning and purpose to my life? That's the job for you. That's what you pursue. That's what you actually roll up your sleeves for, because what's going to happen is you're going to spend a lot of hours on it, but it will not feel like work. My novels, the amount of work I sit down and I put in my manuscripts is a lot, really a lot. I don't watch TV. Let's put it that way. So when I'm not working and I have that 4 hours before I go to bed or something like that, if I'm not spending it with someone worthwhile, I'm going to be working on my books. That's never depleting. It does not feel like work. I can't wait to get to it. When I go on vacation, I also work on my books. I'm sitting on the beach, I'm sitting on the top of a mountain, but I have my laptop with me. Why? Because it feeds my spirit. It feeds my soul. It gives me a sense of purpose. It's also why I reply to you at all kinds of weird hours, right? Because you are so meaningful to me. So teaching doesn't feel like work. It feels like a part of my journey. It feels like something that feeds my soul. I want the same for you. Now, you might sacrifice income, but what happens sometimes is you end up being so successful in those things that you don't. Now, human capital. Human capital is what you have accumulated in education, experience, training, and health. Notice health here. We really do have to be able to show up to work. We really do have to be able to deal with the stress and the load and the changes. And when we are not in very good health, we cannot. Our threshold, our tolerance is much lower for all of that. So about human capital, it's an ongoing process. The way I look at it is it's a work in progress. Every month you're learning something new. Every year you're taking on new goals and trying to achieve them. But the idea here is the higher the human capital, the higher the income. Actually, I will tell you this right now, and I am asking you this question actually on your final, which is, how do you best help people out of poverty? How do you best reduce income inequality? And the two things really are increasing human capital and increasing marginal revenue product. Human capital gets you in the door. This is the stuff on your resume. This is the stuff that first they talk to you, a company talks to you because of what's on your resume. Then they like you because of your personality, and that, comes up here, and all the hard work you put into yourself. And then your marginal revenue product is how much revenue you bring them. Are you a successful employee for them? That's what actually retains you. So you know that Chinese proverb, if you give them a fish, you feed them for a day. If you teach them how to fish, you feed them for a lifetime. And this is basically how you feed people for a lifetime. You want them to have high human capital and high marginal revenue product. Now, risk-taking. Risk-taking is really interesting. If you don't risk something, you just have to accept that you'll be sitting with your dreams and that's it. You're going to be risking time, you're going to be risking money, you're going to be risking opportunities. So obviously the more you risk, the more you stand to lose, but also the more you stand to win. And when I'm talking about risk-taking, I'm not talking about hitting the casinos. There's nothing wrong with that. By all means, if you have the money, and you are disciplined, by all means, go do whatever you want to do. But I'm talking about taking a risk in your life that you're afraid of. You're afraid of failure, but you take a risk anyway. You're afraid that people might judge your work, but you show your work anyway. You're afraid to speak up because you're worried about people might say you're this or that, but you speak up anyway. You give up one job for the sake of another because the other one appeals more to your goals and to your attitude and to your values, and you take a risk and you go out on a limb. I definitely find that unless you take an appropriate amount of risk on people, on opportunities, on your dreams, you will always just sit and doodle and dream and not live. So take some risk. One of the biggest risks that I find people no longer take, some people still do, obviously, but in the past, people were more willing to leave their home state and go to another state and experience a new culture, new neighborhood for the sake of their careers or their ambitions or their dreams. The most important one is actually your dreams. But I find that this is happening a lot less, where people feel like, what? I have to move cross country. I have to find new friendships. I have to learn a new place, find a new favorite place to eat, etc., etc. Yes, absolutely. Do that. Do those things. Don't remain on a treadmill. Take a risk in your life. So if you visit California or Arizona or Utah and you fall in love with their nature and their mountains and their fresh air, and that you just love all and you want to be there and you want that lifestyle, guess what? Move. So I will tell you, when I first arrived into Arizona, my husband and I drove because we had cars to move. So we drove. And we arrived into Arizona, the state that we had, we were moving to, and we stopped at our first gas station. So we drove about maybe 3 hours into Arizona before we stopped. And here is our first stop. We have Massachusetts plates. And a guy passes by my car and I'm putting gas in it, and he goes, and his car, it's full. You can tell that we're moving. I mean, each car is full to the hilt. And the guy goes, oh man, did that in 1966. Now, we were still about maybe 2 hours away from home at that point. And imagine, he said, he did that in 1966. And I said, and how was it? Do you regret it? He said, best thing I have ever done. Then he asked me where we're moving to, and I told him, and he said, that's where I live too. I found that so funny. Someone has done this a long time ago. When you take risks, you definitely train your courage muscle. And the more courage you have, the more likely you are in this life to achieve. Because you want to be motivated by dreams. I'm going to use the word desire, although keep that in check, but more by a sense of purpose and more a sense of meaningful existence than fear or regrets or anything that has to do that's negative. So definitely do that. Wage discrimination. Wage discrimination is like, look, there is justifiable wage discrimination. What is that? Well, I live in Los Angeles and you live in, some small town, Missouri. We do the same job. but I make $15,000 more than you a year because the cost of living in Los Angeles is higher, that's acceptable. That's economic. Or maybe you have some 20 years experience on me, you and I do the same job, but I get paid less than you because I don't have your experience. That is justifiable. What's not justifiable is not paying people the same because they are female, because they are of a different race, because they are disabled, because they are too short, because they are too heavy, because they are unmarried, they don't have children. I mean, there are so many reasons why people are discriminated against that are unfair and just illegitimate reasons. The only reasons we accept really are the reasons that are three. You are more qualified, you have more experience, you live in a place that has higher cost of living. Those are pretty much the dominant reasons why paying people differently is acceptable. Besides that, it's not really. Now that brings me to luck down here. Okay, what is luck? Some people say luck is being at the right place at the right time with the right people. Okay, that's not what I think it is. To me, you attract what you think. You attract what you feel. If you're focused on creating, for instance, let's say you want to create artwork and you're focused on your artwork. Maybe you're a graphic designer and you're focused on that. Well, the more you're focused on the beauty and the structure and the details and the inspiration, the more you attract those things to you, because this is the energy you're putting out. This is the energy you're going to get. So I have often had people say to me things like, you're so lucky. I'm not lucky. Now, I may be fortunate, but fortune takes hard work. You have goals. You measure them. You are focused on them. You have deadlines. If you have setbacks, you fail forward. If you fall down, you trip forward. Fail up. Fail forward. It doesn't mean you don't fail. It doesn't mean you don't have setbacks. It doesn't mean you don't do stupid things. I wish I can tell you will be immune of stupidity. You are not. I am not. I wish we could be. But maybe we can be a little bit less stupid. Maybe we can be a little bit less afraid. Maybe we can be a little bit less reckless, a little bit less frivolous. You see the point? So what we call luck means to me is you generate your own luck in a sense by the energy you put out. So if you're an anxious person, meditate it out of your system. Stop eating the junk food. Stop eating artificial things. Look, I have a lot of videos on my other channel, just under my name, Samar Ren, on YouTube, that walks you through how to heal, how to feel better, how to change your life, how to build resilience, how to increase your empathy. That plasticity of the brain is always available to you. Definitely, you can be happy. You can attract the right person in your life. You can attract the right friends. You can have a sense of accomplishment on a daily basis by really remembering that you are in charge of what you bring to you. Now, sometimes things hurl at us, but the more you realize that you're in charge of your own thoughts and your own actions, the better your reactions will also be. So if you want to discuss these things some more, raise your hand another time and you and I will talk more about them. Watch some of my videos if you would like. Read. There are many people out there who know a lot more than I do. Listen to them, learn from them, and be happy in this life in that sense, understanding that you can take the raw material that you were born with and you can resource it into something absolutely magnificent and gorgeous called you. So I hope you can find that. I wish you the best. And for now, we're going to conclude this chapter. Thank you very much for being with me. I'm Professor N, and I will see you in other videos. Bye-bye.